Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to Veganica channel for those who are the first time. I am non-native English speaker, so if you find my English weird in some moments, please be patient, be tolerant, or don't be tolerant if you wish. First of all, I like to warn all the vegans because I have heard such a warning recently in my own language on the best medical channels in my own language that vegans massively tend to overdose, of course, very important vitamins like, for example, B12, which we are supposed to supplement, but vegans massively overdose it. There are also some other critical components that vegans tend to overdose, like, for example, iron or DHA. I will focus especially on B12 because for me, what's going on around this important substance, I would call it already comedy drama. For me, it is comedy drama. What I'm observing on internet, especially on anti-vegan internet, but for some of you who are not in this topic and who haven't checked the facts by yourself, some of the infos I will share can be very important or maybe crucial for your health, for your life. Let's start from some facts. What you see as recommended daily allowance of any substance, whether it's a vitamin or mineral, please remember this is the amount which is supposed to appear in your diet. It doesn't matter whether it's a supplement injected into the meat, for example, in case of vitamin B12. We know that animals are already supplemented, so when you eat meat, then you already take this supplement inside the meat, or whether you take it as a supplement, also the same supplement but in form of pill. This is the dosage you are supposed to swallow. It doesn't mean that this is the amount which you are supposed to absorb or convert or whatever. So probably what I guess the reason why vegans tend to overdose, especially vitamin B12, could be this whole drama which is conveyed by anti-vegan channels, like, for example, Vegan Phobic, or a lot of this kind of posts recently were posted by Gallant Farms, and I had already had several discussions with him, and he's very, very stubborn, and he constantly refused to check the facts. I will share with you the most recent conversation with him about this. And obviously there are many more of such anti-vegan channels in various languages, also in my own language, which are trying to intimidate vegans. For example, about alleged deficiencies of vegans or the risk of deficiency. Like I said, you should never let anybody intimidate you about the absorption rate or conversion rate, because those daily dosages already calculated absorption or conversion rates. Even if someone tells you that conversion rate is at the level of 1%, like Gallant Farms recently responded to me, you should say, it's okay if 1% and 1%. There is no risk that you are taking too little if you are supplementing. There is always the risk that you are taking too much. Only too much, never too little if you are supplementing. There are, of course, several bioactive forms of vitamin B12. Actually, 4. Methylcobalamin, which is the most popular supplement of vitamin B12, most popular among vegans. Most popular on the market, so whenever I check in internet shops, I will usually get methylcobalamin. It's used as it is, it doesn't need to be converted anyway, which doesn't make this form any better than other forms which need to be converted to methylcobalamin. And moreover, the absorption rate is not any higher than, for example, cyanocobalamin, which is so much criticized by anti-vegans. In fact, it is the opposite. Cyanocobalamin absorption rate is slightly higher than methylcobalamin. Major difference between methylcobalamin and cyanocobalamin is the way they are absorbed and retained within your body. Some studies suggest that your body may absorb cyanocobalamin slightly better than methylcobalamin. In fact, one study found that people's bodies absorbed about 49 of 1 microgram dose of cyanocobalamin compared to 44 of the same dose of methylcobalamin. Another study comparing the two forms reported that about 3 times as much cyanocobalamin as was excreted through urine indicated that methylcobalamin may be retained better within your body. However, some research suggests that the difference in bioavailability between the two forms may be insignificant and that absorption could be influenced by factors such as age and genetics. Moreover, cyanocobalamin is used by pharmaceutical companies so often mainly because it's the most stable form of this vitamin, and especially when you are prescribed vitamin B12 not as a supplement, not as a prevention of deficiency, but as a medicine, as a cure, you will rather get cyanocobalamin. For example, me, I had 1.5 years ago, I had spine surgery. I suffered from sciatica. Do I pronounce it correct? I'm not sure. Sciatica. And my leg was completely numb. I was just dragging this leg behind me. And when I was asking the neurologist whether I will automatically regain the sensation in my leg after surgery, she said that actually no, that maybe I will never regain the feeling, the sensation, because the nerves were already damaged. So I was so much worried, and I was treated with high dosages of vitamin B12, B1, B2, I don't remember whether, I think B6 also was included. But of course B12 is one of the main medicines to regenerate nerves. So for 10 days I was receiving injections, and then for approximately 1 month I kept taking pills with high dosages. And of course, when it's treated as a medicine to heal very serious problem as my problem, of course this was cyanocobalamin, because the doctor cannot risk with methylcobalamin, which is less stable, has lower absorption rate. Methylcobalamin is okay when it's taken as a supplement, as like I said, it's the most popular form of vitamin B12 as a supplement, but when you have a serious problem, then cyanocobalamin is more reliable. Even just tonight before this video I checked about injections of vitamin B12, which is of course the most reliable form of vitamin B12 intake when you have serious issues with absorption, for example some genetic diseases. The most common cause of vitamin B12 deficiencies is impaired absorption due a loss of gastric intrinsic factor. A second major cause is age-related decline in stomach acid production. Other reasons can be people on long-term antacid therapy using proton pump inhibitors, hydrogen blockers, but also after gastrectomy. Gastrectomy is a partial or total surgical removal of the stomach. So you see, some vegans are so worried about their absorption rate of vitamin B12, despite the fact that it's not possible that you had gastrectomy without knowing about it. For example, I had my spine surgery and I know about it perfectly. So a serious issue with absorption of vitamin B12, like for example caused by gastrectomy or genetical reasons, you would rather know it. So many vegans are overdosing vitamin B12 unnecessarily. Is it fully safe? Of course, vitamin B12 is not toxic and it's removed with urine, but there are side effects. For example, those are allergies. Especially nowadays, allergies can become a big problem. I won't even develop this topic because I hope you are aware how big problem it may become in combination with those other risks which we are challenged by. What else? It can cause also nosebleed, but the bigger problems are when you are taking with injections. So I will read to you what one doctor said about the risk of taking too much dosages of vitamin B12 in injections. So vitamin B12 in injections may cause a feeling of swelling of the whole body. It may also aggravate heart failure, which may be manifested by swelling around the ankles and feet. So you see, it's not the case that there are no side effects of taking high dosages of vitamin B12. And of course, it's unnecessary burden for our kidneys, which must work to get rid of it. The supplements I was able to buy of vitamin B12 consist of 50 micrograms of, for example, methylcobalamin, sometimes 100 micrograms. It's a lot. It's a huge dosage. The lowest dosages I found in supplements are approximately 10 micrograms, which is already fourfold too much. It's also important to mention that it's much better for you to take small dosages, but rather every day or every second day, than high dosage once a week or even less than that. Another very important thing is that us as vegan, we really need to take vitamin B12 seriously, so it's better not to take as a multivitamin, because when it's combined with other vitamins may lower absorption of vitamin B12. So at least this is what I've heard from specialists, that if vitamin B12 is important for you and for us vegans it is, then we should rather take it separately, or maybe just vitamin B complex, but not as a multivitamin. Alright, so now let's check what anti-vegans are spreading. I have a post here from Vegan Phobic. He says, not sure, but most B12 in food from everything I've looked into is cyanocobalamin. In food, it's possible because it's the most stable form, so if they want to be sure that what they are declaring on the package is really gonna stay there over next month, yeah, then it rather should be cyanocobalamin, especially when it's small dosages of it in fortified food or in multivitamins. You may rather expect it will be cyanocobalamin, and it's fully okay. It's the most stable form of it. Vitamin B12 is known as cobalamin. Cobalamin actually refers to a group of compounds, corrinoids, with almost identical structure. There are 4 bioactive forms of it. This is cyanocobalamin, hydroxocobalamin, adenosylcobalamin, and methylcobalamin. Cyanocobalamin and hydroxocobalamin are converted to adenosylcobalamin and methylcobalamin. For your body to convert cyanocobalamin or hydroxocobalamin to those active forms is as simple as fart. There is no problem with this. The bigger problem is with absorption, because that's not the case that when you swallow methylcobalamin it's instantly absorbed the way it is. It also needs to get combined with Castle factor in your stomach, and we know that cyanocobalamin absorption rate is higher. So this doesn't mean that methylcobalamin, although this is the form you really need, finally is anyway better, because just to exchange those two groups, cyano group to methyl group, is it's nothing for your body. Is what is more problematic is what happens before that. For some reason vegans think you can just pump one type of B12, but the other B12s are stored in organ meat like liver and kidney, like adenosylcobalamin. Yes, exactly, that's what all scientists say, all doctors, and this is the way they heal deficiencies effectively, which is proven scientifically that yes, this is what happens. And I am also the proof, because when I was really treated by the vitamin B12 as a medicine, and I was receiving injections. I especially today checked which form of vitamin B12 is administered in injections, and we know that injections are given to the most severe cases of deficiency or, for example, nerves. And the most popular form of vitamin B12 in injections is also cyanocobalamin. Sometimes it's also hydroxocobalamin. So none of those finally active forms are used for a treatment of deficiency or nerves damage. He's writing, I'm not sure what the proper intake relation should be between them, and neither does any vegan doctor I've ever listened to. In fact, they don't even agree on it if you take cyano or methyl. Maybe because it doesn't matter really too much if you take this one or that one, because there is only a small difference between, for example, absorption rate. And if you are a healthy person, if you have no mental issues like a vegan phobic probably has, so in his case he rather should avoid methylcobalamin. For healthy people it doesn't matter. He's writing, good luck hearing them ever talk about hydroxocobalamin. Yeah, mainly because, like I said, it doesn't matter. There is no intake ratio between forms because you don't need to take several forms. The difference among those forms start when you have some very serious health conditions, like for example phobia. You are vegan phobic, you openly declare a very serious mental problem. So for such cases like you, it starts to matter, but not too much. But you know, when you have serious problem, you know about it. So when you have a mental disease or you lack the stomach, you know about it, then your doctor will tell you what you need to do, you know. So you have very individual recommendations. So for recommendations for healthy people are that it doesn't matter too much which form you take. If you slightly overdose, it's also okay. Just the only important thing is that you take it. You must take it. And don't overdose it too much. Okay, why hydroxocobalamin is a good form for a person with a phobia? Because basically methylcobalamin is not recommended with people with mental problems. Hydroxocobalamin is mainly recommended, and for example this way is advertised in my language, for people with mental problems, because it might be the problems of over-methylation. Methyl groups, like for example in methylcobalamin, can be thought of as little light switchers for very important processes including stress response, fight or flight reactions, detoxification, synthesis of neurotransmitters, synthesis of glutathione, hormone regulation, energy production, DNA repair, gene re-expression, and so on. Abnormal methylation has been linked to conditions like autoimmune disease and mental problems. Symptoms of over-methylations include anxiety, depression, panic attacks. So definitely a person with such serious mental issue like a phobia should rather consider hydroxocobalamin instead of methylcobalamin. Let's read what are the further symptoms of over-methylation. ADHD, behavior disorders, sleep disorders, restless. So we see that those are mainly psyche-related problems. Schizophrenia, sensitive to environmental toxins, histamine intolerance, and so on. People who are experiencing over-methylation are generally very anxious. This is because over-methylation can create high levels of dopamine, which is the reason of schizophrenia as well, yes, and some other neurotransmitters. Very interesting about the vegan phobic is that he claims to be ex-vegan. We may watch his way. It's a very interesting compilation prepared by Redfield Vegan Phobic, Why I'm No Longer Vegan fail compilation. So the guy who failed, he didn't remember to supplement vitamin B12 or vitamin D regularly. He failed, and then he's complaining that he was B12 deficient and vitamin D deficient as well. At the beginning he seemed to regret this failure, and at that moment this was a very natural reaction. He failed, he regretted, he felt sorry, but then he began compensating and he tried to make his failure his victory. So this is already what we consider very serious mental problem, very serious mental issue. Maybe he thinks he's funny calling himself vegan phobic, but I would take it really seriously. His mental problem is a defect, and we can observe how it has been developing in him. He might be also mirror phobic, and I suspect that he also used to be school phobic. That's regarding vitamin D deficiency, because if he looked into the mirror, probably he would have noticed that he's slightly darker than, for example, me. And if he were not school phobic, so probably at the age of probably 12 years old, definitely in primary school, he would have learned what is the difference between bright complexion and dark complexion. Why such people like me developed bright complexion? What's the meaning? Small children learn that during evolution, when people left Africa, they adapted to regions where there is less sunlight by becoming brighter. That means that my skin is producing way more vitamin D with less sunlight. This is adaptation, and this is what all small children are taught at schools. Black people had adapted to live in Africa or somewhere near equator. They are not naturally supposed, and they are not adapted to live farther on north, and he said he had lived in Seattle, so obviously he's supposed to remember what race he belongs to and what's the meaning, because it's adaptation process. So he must remember that as a black person living in northern area, his intake of vitamin D must obviously be higher than white people. I'm trying to avoid too long videos, therefore I will break right now and we'll be back with the second part of this video and criticism of another anti-vegan nonsenses soon. See you, bye bye.